Welcome to the Craig and Greg Show, presented by Maximize Leadership. Now, here are Craig Owens and Greg Harris.
Hey, welcome back to another episode of the Craig and Greg Show. I'm Craig. This is Greg. You know, sometimes we need somebody to come alongside as leaders and say to us, "Toughen up, Buttercup." We need to really, you know, there's sometimes, let's be honest, I'll be honest, I'll raise my hand. There are times that I want to have a little bit of a self-pity party, like things aren't going my way. But you recently were contacted by an educational institution of higher learning that said, hey, we've discovered that our athletes aren't quite as tough as they've been before. We need a little bit more grit, a little bit more resilience, a little bit more toughen up, Buttercup kind of thing. Is that the role of a leader to say, come on, let's get things moving here?
I think it is. I think we can go back to, coaching. So coaching executives or coaching leaders, it's the same thing. Sometimes we as coaches, mentors, you can interchange some of the words, that it's really critical that they see you viewing them with more potential. I think we'll unpack this a little bit today on why resilience is not as prevalent in this generation or this time than in past. But I think the resilience it's a kind of a cool word. Grit's a quicker word. But I think the toughen up, Buttercup, I believe it starts at home. And we get it when we come to work.
Yeah.
And someone who maybe, I'll give an example, won't use the names, but son didn't do very well in school. Mom was not happy, called the teacher, said that she wanted him to have another chance for a better grade. Okay. So the kid's not learning consequences for trying half efforts.
Right.
And I think that's where we're wrestling as leaders. I'm sure you all are as viewers and listeners, is how do we get the most out of people? Not out of the sign of they're a robot or a machine, but how do we crack that code to draw out the person? How do we let them see, hey, flex your muscles, you got it.
Right.
No, I don't want to try. So I think resilience is something that as leaders, certainly we can work on ourselves, the pity party. So Party City is not too far from here. They don't have those things.
They should.
They should have a pity party, like birthday party, anniversary, but a pity party.
Right.
That would be a busy aisle.
Yeah.
I would think so.
Yeah. Well, I have learned that I don't learn as many lifelong lessons from easy roads, easy experiences as I do from the tough ones. And, we talked a couple episodes ago about giving somebody a mulligan, giving them and in that episode we talked about everybody loves a comeback story. Everybody loves that, when they were down and out and they got back up. But you know what? It's not because somebody softened the blow for them or came over and picked them up. It was because they got themselves back up and kept on going. And that's what I think is missing is that, we're too quick to run in and soften the blow. When if we let them sit in that pain for a little bit, they're going to learn a lesson from it that is going to serve them for the rest of their life.
And as leaders, servant leaders, you wrote a beautiful book on it. Get his book. It's awesome. But my challenge is as leaders, I think we think we're the protection. We're the force field, and I can honestly say either in sports or in business, when I made a mistake, it was one of my better lessons, but you can't take me out of that and give me a lesson.
Right.
I have to stay in that for a while and not beat myself up. But so I'll tell a T-ball story. This is my this is not a bully pulpit time, but blue ribbon society doesn't work for me. I think that's how we get to know resilience.
Where everybody gets a participation trophy or ribbon.
So I'll get back to the institution that told me they're athletes. Please remind me, because you have energy and I have water. So I'm not. Oh, that's energy too. Anyway, so T-ball. I'm coaching my son's T-ball. I'm new to the area. I didn't really know much about this recreation program, and you just got 12 kids' names. We don't draft. They're they got snot running down, socks don't match, and I had one kid. No kidding, he had the wrong glove. His mom and dad gave him a right-handed glove and he would take it off and throw back to me left-handed. I'm like, so you, and I've know I've done this before. You're like, so he's left-handed. Yep. So you put the glove on the left hand. No, that's his throwing arm. It is kind of backwards.
Right.
Anyway, so we're in this. Then the rules come out on T-ball. One team has 14 kids. I have 12. T-ball, the coach is out there just begging the kid to hit the stick, and the tee, and it's a rubber, with a stand, and they're hitting the rubber stand and not the ball, and we're going like this. And the kids in the field are playing defense. They're going like this.
Picking flowers out there and
trying to find a butterfly, whatever. And so 14 kids go to bat. Well, we had to change the rule real quick. If you can't hit the ball off the tee 4 swings, you can go to first base. That was the rule. Like, let's keep the game moving. Well, 14 kids have to score. I have never heard of that. And then we would go to bat, right? So if they hit the ball, we could try to get them out, but they always stayed on first base or they moved. About second inning of the first game, a couple of the kids come up to me and say, hey, Mr. Harris, how do we even know how we're doing? And I
yes.
said, that's brilliant. I didn't think about that. I didn't make the rules. So I said, let me think about that for a minute. So a couple innings later, I'm like, hey, let's count outs. And that'll be our points. Because the rules are everybody goes first base. To keep on moving. It's like a merry-go-round. So in the end, we figured out that we could tell how we were doing because we want to measure. You're having kids concentrate. They're coming to practice. They're sacrificing some hours, whatever. Let's find out how we did measure. I think the T-ball story is where we need to bring it back to work. Mm-hmm. Maybe even home, go backwards. But it's okay to not win at this.
Yes.
You do your best. And I think the T-ball story really kind of pushed me to think, we're going to have to bring some bad news from time to time.
Absolutely.
You didn't score. You didn't win that game. You struck out. Johnny, come here. Come here, nothing. Let's go back in the batting cage and practice it.
Right.
And then get back out. And when he does get the hit, he'll know that he earned it.
Yes.
I think we're robbing.
Yeah. And it's, I think about like us as parents, we'll do like, for instance, my kids as little tykes, they would have gotten a immunization against measles. It hurt like the dickens to put that thing into their thigh, or and they screamed for a few seconds. But I saved them from the real tragedy of getting measles. And I think that's where we're going. Hey, hold on, this is a momentary pain. You lost the game and you feel bad about it. That's okay. That's okay. What can you learn from it? And instead of, if we just go, well, just never mind, forget about it. You shouldn't have, and that other team did, and
coach,
right, the teacher, the whatever. You start making all these excuses. There's not going to be any learning, any resilience that's going to come from that. And then it's gone all the way up to now. We got this at higher levels of athletics. You got somebody contacting you, going, Greg, what do we do? So
this university college, the athletic director and the 3 main men's sports, so be football, basketball, baseball, at this college, all were kind of pulling their hair out like, this is not what I thought coaching would get to,
Right.
And so we had a meeting, and they just kind of laid it out, and I get it, and connected a few other former alums and athletes, and said, let's help them kind of get this, because if they're coming to college at 18 and they're so soft and they're so needy and they're so fragile and they don't have that depth of character to say, yeah, second half, we're going to turn this game around. Mm-hmm. They almost fold and say, what's our next game?
Yeah.
And I was quite honored, but I was also potentially disappointed to hear that, and this is a pretty top-level school. It's not, kids that have barriers to, growing and learning, et cetera. These are pretty good kids coming from pretty good families, and they can afford this school. And I just struggled with, how are you soft? You got here. You had to have a good GPA. You had to stay out of jail. Things like that. I'm like, I didn't get it. I think the one quote that is fascinating, that, this whole maybe making sure our kids are safe. We've gone beyond safe, like riding your bike in the neighborhood, to safe from disappointment.
That's right. Right.
We've gone way too far. This quote is: life doesn't get any easier or more forgiving. We just develop more strength and more resilience. And I think my best biology example, I wasn't great in science. I liked it, but wasn't going to be a doctor of anything. So, but the chrysalis with a butterfly.
Yeah.
And you see it struggle, inside the chrysalis. It's time to come out.
Right.
Monarchs are one of my favorites. You're like, oh, that's on a milkweed. That's got to be a monarch, and you want to take an X-Acto knife and open up the chrysalis and let it out.
Right.
And it dies.
Yep.
The only way that butterfly can exist and thrive in nature is to stretch, flex in that chrysalis to a point of exhaustion.
Yep.
To break out.
Yep.
And I think that's our challenge as leaders. We have to let them stay in the chrysalis.
Yeah.
It's not long.
No.
Whether it's our kids or a fellow employee or someone that reports to us or that's on our team on level. But I think helping them get out of their struggle is not a service as a leader.
No, and we've talked before about the immediate gratification, and you're not going to have that, but I think it's good to put it in perspective, like you just said, all right, getting out of the chrysalis, it's a short period of time of struggle for a lifetime of soaring, or the short period of pain because I got that immunization against measles, saving me a heartache, a lifetime of struggle and hindrance because I got measles. Right. So I think that's where we have to remind people, like, this, I know it feels right now like it's the end of the world because, you failed this test or you got fired from that job or you let your team down. So I know that's what it feels like, but this is a short period of time. What can you learn from this and go forward?
As leaders, maybe our challenge is to create a culture of not saving them, but protecting them from quitting, making bad decisions. Yep. But, that experience, there's always tomorrow. I mean, God promises another good day. Right. But we tend to maybe perspective that, that soccer game was so critical to my daughter. I'm actually going to go yell at the athletic director because that coach did not put her in enough. Yeah. Okay. I've coached, high school sports for, a while. And that's one of my favorite things with a parent is the parent comes in and says, how come, Billy Bob's not getting a lot of playing time? What does he say? Well, he says that you don't like him. Oh, I actually love the kid. I think he's an amazing young man. I don't like his lack of effort at practice. Therefore, he's not earning more minutes. Did he tell you that? No. You want to go, why don't you get your back in the car and drive home and talk to Billy Bob? Right. But you don't. You say, well, just ask him and see what he says. But if he increases his efforts, he'll get better and get more time. Yep. But he doesn't give us his best. He might tell you. And you kind of have to break the bubble of the parent who came to lobby for more minutes.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I remember you telling me a statement that was made to you when you were with these NFL players that what distinguishes them is not so much their physicality. That was a small percentage. There's some people that are just freaks of nature, physically. But almost all of the athletes, they said that were going to thrive in the NFL, it didn't come from their physicality. It came from inside.
Inside there, it's that strength of character. It's that won't be denied.
Grit.
Yeah, grit. I think there's some really cool interchangeable words, persistency, consistency. But resilience, I just call it out on people. Like, let's just be resilient. You might have some things going on at home. You might have some things going on with your family or kids or, loved ones, or you might have things going on with your health, your own self, or you might have things going on at your workplace. But to give up has really become too easy. Like, so you quit your third job this year? Yeah, well, they wanted me to come in on the weekend. Are they open on the weekend? Yeah. That's why they asked you to. Well, I wanted to fish with my buddies. You're probably not going to be a great contributor to the team, I think resilience is one one of those things it's hard to teach it, but when you see it, you're like, he's got it.
Right.
And using higher level sports as an example, all pitchers in the minor leagues can throw 88 miles an hour or faster. There isn't anybody who, he couldn't break a pane of glass. He just throws a real slow fastball. They're all fast. What really comes down to it, where's their bulldog mentality?
Yeah.
And I think that's where us parents and certainly us leaders have maybe shorted that experience where someone really can develop that bulldog. Because I want to be on a team with bulldogs.
Yeah.
I don't want to be on a team with a bunch of poodles. And that you look great, but you don't got any merit or muscle or mettle in it.
So now, what would you say about, like, it's hard to teach the grit, it's hard to teach the resilience. So why did this school contact you then? What are they just needed somebody to vent, or are they strategizing? Are they coming up with a plan for maybe trying to inculcate some resilience into these young men?
All of the four are younger than me, but I played at a good level, played a lot of sports, and I think they saw the overcoming setbacks in me or heard of it, whether I played with them or not. And I think that mindset of, you got to get it done. It's not pretty, but you got to do this to get to that next level. And I think they're struck, I think, by the parents. And so they get these, young adults, and they come in pie in the sky like, it's going to be kumbaya, unicorns, and pixie dust here. And you're like, they got agility workout at 6:15 in the morning? Why would I do that? I want to sleep in. And that's kind of those telltales of, are you committed to excellence, or do you just want a good time?
Right.
And I think in business, do you want the job, or do you want to make this a great company?
Right.
Kind of two worlds, but the toughness, I think, we've played ball with each other. They didn't really like that because we were good together, but they would often pick us to play against each other. And we've often laughed. You just had a situation, recreating with some buddies where like, don't do that to him. He's going to dig down. Craig's got another level. He's going to kick it into fifth gear, and we're done. That's resilience. Like you're facing adversity. And literally, you work out, you're like, I got to push myself.
Okay.
Well, how? Why do you do that?
Right.
That's how you build endurance. You build strength. I think the same story for leadership.
Well, and you shared an interesting find that you had from the Mayo Clinic about not just, I think you said pushing yourself there, physically, but what did the Mayo Clinic, what did you find out from them about what happens to the non-physical part of you that develops some protections for down the road?
When you break through, and that's what I kind of call it, like for leaders, when you see somebody that you're mentoring or coaching, you're like, oh my goodness, she's getting it.
Yeah.
How cool is that? You get to be a part of their journey of growth and toughness, and they're equipped to either do something great for your company, or they'll do something great in the next assignment.
Right.
I think the Mayo Clinic really hit it on the head. Their findings were, with resilience, you get some esteem building and some confidence boost that someone can't give you.
Right.
Only you can do it.
Right.
And it combats two main things, anxiety and depression. And I thought, without getting into stats on mental health or mental illness, on our podcast, and we're not those professionals, but we can see the numbers are increasing.
Yes.
That they're softer, they don't know how to handle it, and they get more anxious or more depressed or maybe worse, And I think as leaders, we have to give them that foundation of, it's going to be a safe place to develop your resilience.
Yes.
But please develop your resilience.
Yes.
Because we put our team together, and now we're a resilient group. I've been on teams, so have you, where maybe one or two aren't resilient, and you're always kind of making up for them.
Yes. Yep.
Please start with a story.
Oh, well, when you start making up for those people that are falling short, at first you're like, okay, well, we're just helping them. And then after a while, it starts to turn to resentment.
Yes, it
like
does.
you're holding the rest of us back from going here if you're not going to get on the same page with us. And it's just not good team chemistry.
I've heard, comments about, society, America, pick the whole, 48 contiguous states. I think the next generations are really going to have to get a strong underbelly. You look at an animal, and where do they protect themselves? All their organs, right? The things that make them click. They care less about a tail. If there's a cat fight or something, they're going to protect their vitals. I think that's where we have to let another leader or maybe someone who we're leading struggle a bit. And it's very tough because if you have compassion as a competent leader, you do want to kind of save them, or
Absolutely.
bubble wrap them or whatever. And you can't because you're doing them a disservice, and that's not really leading.
Right.
That's basically incubating them
Yes.
again.
Yeah.
I just like the attachment to anxiety and depression.
Well, I think what I found a real separator, and maybe leaders, you want to remind yourself of this, is that you are more likely to act yourself into feelings than you are to feel yourself into action.
Ooh.
When you say, I'm going to get up and exercise. This bed's really comfortable. I don't feel like getting up. You're probably not going to. But if you just say, I'm still going to get up and do it, when you're done, you're going to feel good for having overcome that obstacle and having, disciplined yourself to work out. And so, leaders, sometimes you're going to have to say, oh man, this is going to be a tough conversation. I really don't want to have it. But if you do it, if you do the things first, I think the good feelings can follow. And that's where I think the resilience piece, that some people are like, I just don't feel like doing it. But if you just do it, then you're going to feel good for doing it. And then that's built a little bit more resilience, a little bit more grit, a little bit more stick-to-itiveness. And then and eventually, oh, hey, look what I've grown now. Now I can really withstand a lot more than I could before.
To piggyback on your example right there, Craig, a very good friend of mine had a health coach who actually said to her, if you're sad, be sad and get on the treadmill.
Yeah.
Do something.
Right.
Versus sad and sit. So now you've done nothing. Now you feel poopy and you're doing nothing.
Right.
So if you're going to be sad, just go on the treadmill. Take a walk. Ride a bike. I think that's what we need to do as leaders is give them the chance to say, so if you're bummed, take a moment, cry, fester, but then get back in the game.
Right. Get going.
You're welcome back. And I think as leaders, you're welcome back in the game.
Yep.
And I think what accomplishments in past decades and generations have come through just gut, grind, grit, resilience. And you're like, wow, I wouldn't have put my money on them. And they came out. And those are those cool stories we love.
Absolutely.
Right? Like, what a turnaround. I love 180s. It's like, she was going this way and she turned it around. But resilience is something that no one can give you. That's what I love. You own your own.
Yes. Yep.
I think that's that's our catch, right? That's our cause or our clause to say, I could do it for you,
right?
But it would be a disservice.
Absolutely.
But I'm not going to leave you alone. I just need you to process it alone.
Yes.
Let's go out and have a hot dog, but I know you're not happy with you lost a big client. So we had that.
Get back in there.
Yeah. So a sales organization I was a partner at, one of my partners lost a really big account for us. Like we're talking very big numbers. And everybody went to him. Oh, that's okay. You got you got ripped off, you got gypped, you're way better than that. And okay. But he didn't feel the pain of why he lost that client because he didn't pay attention to him.
Nope.
And that was the only reason they fired him. You're lazy, you overpromise, underprovide, and weren't here. We want someone. So neither of people kind of chirping at him helped him.
Right.
Because he didn't learn from it.
Didn't do him any favors.
We've laughed about, both of us have had some successes and we're honored to be a part of that. I could write probably one good book on successes. Like, yeah, it went the way it was supposed to go. Yeah, that's what we planned it. I could probably write a trilogy on things that didn't go well and what I learned from. And that is, I think, our challenge for you all, is be okay with learning from those bumps and bruises and trials and tribulations, because that's who make who we are. In the end. That'll be our legacy. I think I have one quote. So God created the human spirit with a special ingredient, resiliency. You think about countries and civilizations that have developed, you're like, okay, they had to overcome.
Yes.
I mean, they sacrifice. And I think the immediate gratification mindset is kind of winning.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. Yeah. So I think the lesson today on the resilience, really, Craig, is I can't give it to you, but I sure can foster it out of you.
Yes.
I mean, God put that seed of resilience in, but I don't want to create that soft where you don't grow.
Yep.
I think that's my hope for people.
Well, leaders, listen, the principle is simple. The people are going to do what they see you do. So look in the mirror yourself. Ask yourself that tough question. Am I resilient? Do I have some grit? Or do these bumps and bruises along the way kind of keep me back? Your team is watching you do that. And then once you do that, then I think you can come alongside other people. If we can help you, we'd love to be able to coach you. Go to maximizeleadership.com, click on our page for coaching, fill out the form on there. Tell us what you're facing either in your own life or in your organization. We'll get back to you on how we can come alongside to help you. We also love your input, whether you're leaving comments below on this video or reach out to us on Twitter at Maximize Podcast. Why don't you share with us maybe a lesson that you took away from this, or a question you had, or maybe an idea of a future episode, a future topic that you'd like us to dive into. We want to be a resource for you and help you be the very best leader that you can be. So stay in touch with us, and we'll keep providing you the best content that we can. Stay tuned. We've got lots of great more content coming up soon.
Get in touch with Craig and Greg through Twitter at Maximize Podcast or at MaximizeLeadership.com. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any episodes of The Craig and Greg Show.